What's up, guys? It's been a long time. Uh, don't even know. I think the last update that I had, the last video I had was like before the summer, before May Day. Um, and that feels like such a lifetime ago because so much has happened. So for this video, and this is gonna be the last video I'm gonna make for probably this year, honestly, because of what I'll talk about. I'm gonna talk about 2024 and then I'm gonna talk about 2025. A lot of developments like that you're well aware of. Developments with the presidential election with Kamala Harris, following up after Joe Biden dropped out, which is just incredible, with Tim Walz being selected as the VP nominee. The Democratic Party has basically been knocking it out of the park, and that has affected me and my plans for 2024 and 2025 a lot in a really good way. So I just want to give you guys an update and tell you a little bit about what's coming. But, if you haven't caught on yet, show, don't tell. I like to do stuff a lot of times before I tell you about them. It's like, I've already started. And so, following in that tradition, I want to kind of explain what's been happening this year and then talk about what that means for next year. And I think the theme is really just pacing myself. And I would urge you to pace yourself because when this election is over, it's not the end by a long shot. If, and I think when Donald Trump is beaten in the election, that is just, it's a key battle, but we're not even close to being done. So pacing is a big part of what I'm going to talk about just for myself and what I would urge for you to consider. How do you pace yourself? How do we pace ourselves in these unpaceable times? High pace times, high stress times, if anything. What I was planning to do was two things to get. One, I'm not going to tell you about, and one I'm going to. One was an online campaign that was going to set out 100 days before the election, which was July 28th, I think was 100 days before the election, and I was going to do a daily meme, and I was going to do my thing where I tried in a bunch of different subreddits. Of course, this was going to be on Reddit, as you all know. That's kind of my place. Has been since 2008, which I will get back to in a little bit. Reddit has been my place since Obama ran for the first time. That's when I got really involved, and that was my very first election. This is really now, for an election year, the most uninvolved I've ever been online. And I'll tell you why. It's because it's not necessary. 100 days before the election was July 20 something, 28th, I want to say. And I was planning on doing a daily 100 days until the election countdown to basically help spread the message. Messaging is really my whole thing. Joe Biden dropped out like July 21st, like a week before. And I don't want to say I immediately knew what he was going to do, but to me, that was a huge. I already wanted to not, I was already looking for a way out of doing the 100-day meme campaign, in the same kind of vein as I did for the transit nationalization campaign on May Day strike. Joe Biden dropped out of the race a week before my campaign was set to start, and I was already looking for like a sign to like can't take this cup from my lips, sort of a thing. And then I was hoping, and he did, basically tee up Kamala Harris to swoop in right, and it was right after the RNC. Like, there's no time for Republicans to react. They'd already had their convention, and then Kamala Harris picks. I thought she was going to pick Tim Kelly, Mark Kelly, the Arizona astronaut, Arizona senator, as her VP candidate. Then she picks Tim Walz. Everything that the Democrats are doing has exceeded my expectations. Sans Palestine, obviously. Sans Palestine. Um, I'm not going to talk about Israel and Palestine right now because it's a can of worms, and nothing will change for Israel and Palestine unless the Democratic Party is taken over by labor interests and pushes out capital interests. The Democratic Party is really the only viable political vehicle left in the United States at present. And that's why I'm completely behind the Democratic Party. I'm with Bernie Sanders on this one, especially when it comes down to how when fascists have taken over one political party, there is no choice except but to take over their counterpart, and beat them. And from there, where we go, well, that's more for 2025, which I'll get to. But part of why I didn't do my campaign, I was I've been exhausted, and I've just been trying to work and get my shit together. So I was very happy to see Joe Biden drop out, and I'm glad I didn't start on my 100-day campaign because I would be so wiped right now. Not to mention, I would be kind of polluting my messaging, which would then be weaker in 2025. If you get a text message every single day from somebody, after like 6 months or a year, you're just going to tune it out. Either you're going to find a way around not hearing them, or your brain is going to ignore them. It's the same online. And for somebody who really wants to push messaging, timing is everything. Pacing is everything. So for this election season, I've been super relieved to see that I can kind of sit in the back seat and just let Democrats go. Like, do it. Yes, they are going to destroy Donald Trump. I have never seen this much energy in the Democratic Party since Barack Obama in 2008 in the first run, which was huge. And I remember that vividly. It was my very first election that I voted. I'd just gotten back from Iraq. Like, I was highly motivated, and so was everyone else. People are highly motivated now. I mean, even more so. I'm not saying that Kamala Harris is a better candidate than Barack Obama, although I think they're comparable. What I will say is that the energy behind them and the willingness to oppose right-wing policies, or should I say non-policies, policies that support billionaires and nobody else, I've never seen it stronger. This is the strongest I've ever seen the Democratic enthusiasm for a long time. So that's exciting. It's also a huge relief because I can keep doing what I do best, which is underground guerrilla messaging. FDR and the very first liberals, as we understand the word, that is those who not to be confused with neoliberals, but liberals in the Franklin Delano Roosevelt sense. The original liberals would not have been able to do what they did in office were it not for the underground guerrilla leftist communists, anarchists, socialists, etc. And the same is true today. The left is very much informed by the thinkers, the artists, have you, who then go and trickle down into the Democratic Party by way of populist interest. People are turning to the Democratic Party not because the Democratic Party is just so great and they've been right the whole time. No, they've been wrong for a long time, since Clinton. You could say before that, but definitely Bill Clinton was very wrong. Neoliberals are just capitalists who think that they can do capitalism better than conservatives can do. They're really not thinking about workers or people at all. They're thinking about making money. So the Democratic Party lost its way a long time ago. The interest that they have now is purely coming from a populist, popular people movement, and a kind of a reaction against the reactionaries, a counter-reactionary, which is fun to think about because a reaction is to that. So it's just bouncing back and forth. Reaction to reaction, reaction, reaction. People don't want to live in a Trumpian fascist dystopia anymore. We've done that. We've tried that. It sucked. Nobody liked that. Everyone hated that. And this is where this enthusiasm for Democrats is coming from. Not only are the Republicans trying to maintain the status quo, they are trying to take us backwards. They are trying to undo protections for marriage equality, for women's rights, for civil rights, workers' rights, in every way. The Republicans are trying to take us back. I mean, they would take us back to King George if they could. And this is nice to see. It is nice to see the enthusiasm in 2024. 2025. My focus is still on workers and May Day, but I am able to breathe. I don't have to expend my particular messaging and fatigue people because I plan on continuing that into 2025 regardless. It's really nice to sit back and just let 2024 happen. the way the Democrats are making it happen, because there's nothing that I could do that the Democrats are not already doing. As far as messaging goes, they're doing really well. Again, sans Palestine. That's a whole nother thing that I'm not going to get into. I just am not. Anyway, that's all I really have to say right now. Show, don't tell. I will update you guys later. This probably will be my last video for this year, but I'm thinking as early as February next year, I should have started or will be preparing to start another art campaign, but it might not be until later in the spring. I don't know, you know, who knows what's going to happen. Again, if Trump wins, which I think is very unlikely, but you know, if Trump wins, that'll throw yet another wrench in my plan, a very bad wrench, as opposed to this Democratic Party competence wrench, which I'm very much enjoying. I really could not be more pleased with what's happened in the last few months, because it's blown away my most optimistic expectations. I am really relaxed, relieved, and I'm looking forward to next year. So I'll leave you on that note. Hopefully, we can pick up next year on just as positive of a note, and keep fighting for workers' rights. See you guys.